HOA, Karen illegally parked in my garage, so I locked her car inside. Willow Creek Estates looked perfect on paper. Quiet cul-de-sacs, trimmed hedges, no crime, no chaos, just stability behind beige vinyl siding. That's what sold me. I wanted order. Simplicity. What I got was Karen Wexley, HOA president and self-appointed goddess of all things suburban. Karen wasn't elected. She was inherited, like rust in the pipes or mold in the walls. No one remembered a time before her rule. She ran every HOA meeting like a corporate takeover. Efficient. Smiling. Ruthless. Her word was law, even if it wasn't in the bylaws. I'd been in the neighborhood for 6 months. I kept to myself, paid dues on time, followed every guideline, no lawn ornaments, no visible trash bins, no satellite dishes. Karen never had reason to notice me. I liked it that way. Until the garage incident. It started when I returned from a weekend visit with my mother. I pulled into the driveway and immediately knew something was off. The garage door was open. I never leave it open. I parked and stepped out, heartbeat already ticking up. The door hadn't been forced, no scratches, no damage. But inside, where my silver Civic should have been, sat a red BMW SUV like it owned the place. It was gleaming, freshly waxed, parked dead center. I stood there, confused, scanning for clues. Then I saw it, hanging from the mirror. WC HOA, board president. I blinked, as if the tag would vanish if I stared long enough. It didn't. I pulled out my phone, opened the HOA group chat, and fired off a message. Me. Someone parked a red BMW in my garage. Is this a mistake? Silence. I called Karen directly. She answered on the third ring. Hi there, she said, like she'd been waiting for my call. Yes, that's mine. I meant to leave a note. A note? I asked, trying to stay calm. Why is your car in my garage? We needed temporary storage while the clubhouse is being remodeled. The board agreed your detached garage would be ideal. It's underused, and you weren't home. I blinked. You can't just decide that. It's within the board's authority under Section 14C. Temporary reassignment of non-essential property. My garage isn't non-essential, I snapped. It's mine. She paused. It's just a few days. Try to be neighborly. And just like that, she hung up. I stared at the screen, stunned. She didn't ask. Didn't explain. Just took. Like my property was hers to manage. I checked the bylaws. Section 14C didn't say anything about commandeering personal property. It was about shared amenities, like the tennis courts and pool. She was bluffing. She counted on me not checking. On everyone not checking. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed and stared out the window at the sealed garage, the BMW taunting me from within. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a power move, calculated, deliberate. Karen wanted me to roll over. To accept that because she was president, she could do what she wanted. I wouldn't. She crossed into my space, literally. And she needed to be reminded that even in suburbia, trespassing had consequences. I smiled to myself, already dialing the locksmith. The locksmith arrived the next morning, a wiry man with a quiet efficiency. I didn't explain much, just pointed to the garage and said, I need it rekeyed. 20 minutes later, the lock was changed, the remote reprogrammed, and the door sealed with a satisfying thunk. Karen's car was still inside. And now, so was her overreach. I sent her a single text. Your car is secure. You'll need to arrange its removal legally. Her reply came almost immediately. You've made a serious mistake. That garage was reassigned by the board. You're obstructing HOA operations. I didn't answer. She followed up with another message, this one dripping with passive-aggressive authority. Failure to comply with HOA Directive 14C will result in a formal citation and potential fines. I sent back a photo of the bylaw in question, highlighted in yellow. 14C refers to community property. My garage is privately owned. Try again. Then I muted her number. What I didn't expect was the flood of quiet applause. That evening, as I trimmed the front hedge, a man I barely knew approached from across the street. David, mid-50s, Wore the kind of beige polos that screamed HOA compliance. "She ever fine you for anything stupid?" he asked. "Not yet," I said. "But she did steal my garage." He chuckled grimly. "She fined me for a wind chime. Said it disrupted neighborhood tranquility. It's a damn wind chime." By nightfall, 2 other neighbors had messaged me privately, each with their own Karen story. Petty citations. Surprise inspections. Veiled threats disguised as friendly reminders. She'd ruled through fear and paperwork. But now, someone said no. It wasn't just about the garage anymore. It was about the pattern. And Karen knew it. She escalated. A letter arrived the next morning. Hand-delivered, HOA letterhead stamped like a royal decree. Inside was an official notice of violation. Obstruction of HOA operations. Failure to comply with temporary reassignment directive. Hostile conduct toward HOA official. Fine. $1,250. I read it twice, then pinned it to my fridge like a child's drawing. Let her waste paper. I had something better. Proof. Security footage showed her entering my property without consent. The car was clearly parked inside without my permission. Her voice on speaker, admitting she used my garage because I was underutilizing it. Every detail documented. She thought she was unshakable, that no one would challenge her authority. But she underestimated one thing: how far someone will go when their boundaries are violated. I wasn't going to war. I was already winning it. I called Daryl, my old college friend and now a practicing real estate attorney. He laughed when I told him the story. "She put her car in your garage? Without a lease or agreement," he said. "That's textbook trespassing. Want me to draft a cease and desist?" "Make it aggressive," I said. He sent the letter that afternoon. Formal language. Legal citations. A politely worded threat of litigation if she didn't remove the vehicle within 48 hours. Karen didn't respond. Instead, she retaliated. That night, motion lights in my backyard flickered on. I checked the security feed and there she was, black hoodie, clipboard in hand, pacing the perimeter like a nosy raccoon. She approached the side door to the garage, jiggled the handle, then pulled something from her coat. A wire. Maybe a Slim Jim. Maybe just nerves. She poked around for 15 minutes before disappearing into the shadows. The next morning, I filed a police report. No drama. Just paperwork. Evidence submitted. Case logged. I didn't publicize it. I didn't need to. The neighborhood grapevine did the rest. By lunchtime, the story was out. Karen caught snooping, possibly breaking and entering. Footage circulated. Quiet conversations erupted. For years, people feared her. Now they were laughing behind their hands. And still, the car remained. Locked. Untouched. It sat in my garage like a monument to hubris. To the idea that power can bend ownership, that a title gives you the right to ignore consent. She wanted control. I gave her consequences. And I wasn't done yet. The garage door stayed closed, but the pressure outside was building like a thunderhead. By Monday morning, I noticed a small white sticker on my mailbox, barely visible unless you were looking. It was a subtle mark, a quiet signal used by the HOA to designate non-compliant properties. I peeled it off and smiled. Karen was running out of leverage, and she knew it. The cease and desist had rattled her. She didn't reply, didn't move the car, didn't speak to me directly. But her actions told the story. New fines showed up daily. Noise violations, landscaping discrepancies, even a citation for excessive shadow cast by tree limbs. I documented every one. Then I posted them, all of them, in the Willow Creek Estates neighborhood Facebook group. No rants, just facts. Dates, scans, photos. I captioned it simply. When questioning authority costs $1,250 a week. The comments came fast. She did this to us when we painted our shutters. We had to replant an entire flower bed. Said our tulips were too loud. This has gone on long enough. What began as neighborhood sympathy was shifting toward resistance. A few brave homeowners shared screenshots of their own violation letters, petty fines stretching back months, sometimes years. all with Karen's digital signature stamped at the bottom like a monarch seal. But resistance, I learned, has a price. That Wednesday, I came home to find a county vehicle parked out front. 2 inspectors stood in my yard, clipboards in hand, frowning at my roofline. I approached calmly. "Can I help you?" "Routine compliance check," one said. "We received a report of structural violations, potential code breaches, possible unpermitted additions." I stared at them. "Who filed it?" They wouldn't say. But we both knew. I let them do their inspection. The house was pristine. No modifications. No violations. Every measurement met spec. I even offered them bottled water before they left. As they drove off, I spotted Karen standing at the end of her driveway, arms folded, watching like a hawk guarding her nest. Her expression was unreadable, but her posture screamed, "I won't lose control." She was unraveling. And unraveling people get reckless. That night, she made her final play. A notice was slid under my door, an emergency HOA board resolution. According to the document, my garage was now considered community contingency space due to its non-essential designation and current vacancy status. She claimed the board voted unanimously. I laughed. There was no such vote. I called Teresa, my next-door neighbor, and the most level-headed person on the block. She'd served on the board once, years ago, before Karen drove her off with accusations of conflicted interests. "She can't just pass emergency resolutions on her own," Teresa said. "That requires a supermajority and an actual emergency." "She faked it," I replied. "And she's putting it in writing now." That's when Teresa's tone changed. "Maybe it's time," she said, "to go bigger." We met that night with 4 other homeowners in Teresa's garage. Folding chairs, coffee, manila folders. Not a rebellion yet, but close. "We only need 25% of the community to force a special election," David said, flipping through a copy of the bylaws. "If we gather signatures, we can remove her." "And replace her with who?" someone asked. No one answered. We didn't need to. Anyone would be better than Karen. We broke off that night with a plan, quiet, calculated. Each of us would canvass 5 homes. Ask carefully. Speak plainly. Share facts. No drama. But first, I had one more move to make. I checked the plates on Karen's BMW again, just to be sure. Daryl ran them through a public database. Bingo. Registration expired. 3 months overdue. No insurance on file. The car was technically in violation of state law, sitting on private property, unregistered. I filed a formal complaint with the sheriff's office. Attached everything: photos, HOA letters, cease and desist, footage of her trespassing. Then I called a tow company. "I need a vehicle removed from my garage," I said. "It's been left here without permission. The owner has been notified and refuses to retrieve it." "Any issues with access?" "None," I said. "The door opens just fine." The dispatcher paused, then said, "We'll send someone in the morning." As I hung up, I looked out the window at the garage. Inside sat Karen's polished BMW, now less a car and more a trophy of overreach. She'd played every card. But I held the one that ended the game. The tow truck pulled into my driveway at 8:07 a.m., loud, unapologetic, and exactly on time. Its diesel growl echoed through Willow Creek Estates like a siren for the curious. Curtains fluttered. Doors cracked open. It didn't take long for the neighbors to notice. Karen arrived 3 minutes later. She came out of her house like she was storming a courtroom, robe fluttering, coffee cup clutched like a gavel, hair pulled back in a tight bun that screamed damage control. "Stop," she shouted, marching down the sidewalk. "You can't do this. That car is HOA property under temporary board assignment." The tow operator, a broad-shouldered man named Rick, looked up slowly from his clipboard. "Lady, this paperwork says otherwise." He handed her the signed towing request, complete with my deed, the police report, and the expired vehicle registration. She skimmed it, eyes scanning faster with every line. "This is a mistake. A gross overstep. I will have your business license revoked. I swear to. It's unregistered." I cut in. stepping beside her. Sitting on private property, documented as trespassing. The sheriff's office greenlit the removal. Karen turned on me, jaw clenched so tight I could see the vein in her neck twitch. "You smug little." "Careful," I said quietly, just loud enough for the bystanders now gathering along the sidewalk. "You're being watched." I wasn't bluffing. Several neighbors stood with phones out, recording everything. Not for drama. For proof. For accountability. That's what this had become. Rick finished securing the straps around her BMW, then climbed into the cab. "She'll be at Grover's lot by noon. You'll need ID and proof of insurance to get her back." Karen stood frozen, watching as her SUV rose off the ground, her throne lifted from its pedestal. And just like that, it was gone. I half expected her to explode, to scream, to call the cops or start citing bylaws from memory. But instead, she said nothing, just turned, face pale, and walked slowly back to her house. That should have been the end. But the real finish came the next night. The neighborhood petition had hit critical mass. Over 50% of homeowners signed in less than a week. Quiet door knocks, late-night conversations, whispered stories finally spoken aloud. David delivered the stack of signed forms to the HOA's legal counsel, bypassing Karen entirely. A special meeting was scheduled. It didn't go well for her. Karen arrived with a prepared speech, flanked by 2 remaining board members who looked like they regretted showing up. She tried to reassert control, citing procedure, deflecting blame, claiming fabricated rumors. But it was too late. Residents lined the room wall to wall. Every time she spoke, someone raised a hand with a new complaint, a new citation, a new violation of trust. Then Teresa stood up. "This isn't about one garage," she said calmly. "It's about how power was abused, how neighbors were silenced, and how we forgot that an HOA is supposed to serve us, not rule us." A vote was called. Karen was removed by a margin so large, no recount could save her. Her resignation was demanded before the meeting ended. She left the clubhouse that night, without speaking a word. Within a month, her house went up for sale. The listing described it as charming and ideally located. I had to laugh. Karen was gone, and peace returned like a slow sunrise. The fines vanished. The mailbox stickers were removed. HOA meetings became shorter, friendlier, focused on actual issues, not vendettas. As for me, I never got an apology. Never expected one. But a few weeks later, I came home to find a small envelope taped to my front door. Inside was a handwritten note from David. "Thanks for standing your ground. You didn't just get your garage back. You gave the whole neighborhood its backbone." I folded the note and tucked it into a drawer. Karen had bet everything on fear. And lost. Not because I shouted the loudest, but because I refused to be silent. Because I locked the door and held the line.